The doors to the Galactic Council chamber opened with a soft hiss. Taesung walked through them with steady steps. His black uniform bore the symbol of Earth, a blue and green planet surrounded by stars. Behind him, 2 guards from his world followed at a respectful distance. The chamber was enormous. It stretched upward like a cathedral, with seats arranged in circular rows that climbed toward a domed ceiling made of transparent crystal. Through that ceiling, Taesung could see the stars of 100 different systems. The light from those distant suns cast strange shadows across the floor. Hundreds of aliens sat in those seats. They came in every shape Taesung could imagine, and many he could not. Some had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Others had fur in colors that did not exist on Earth. A few floated in tanks of liquid, their bodies too delicate for normal atmosphere. Many had more arms than humans. Some had no arms at all. All of them watched Taesung as he walked to the center of the chamber. He had known this moment would come. Earth had applied for membership in the Galactic Council 3 months ago. The Council governed trade, resolved disputes, and maintained peace among thousands of worlds. Membership meant protection. It meant access to technology that could feed billions. It meant humanity would no longer stand alone in the dark between stars. But first, Earth had to prove itself worthy. Taesung reached the center of the chamber and stopped. A platform rose beneath his feet, lifting him higher so all could see. He kept his face calm, but his heart beat faster. Everything depended on the next few hours. A voice echoed through the chamber. It came from everywhere and nowhere, translated instantly into a language Taesung could understand. The Council recognizes Ambassador Taesung of Earth. You may introduce yourself and your world. Taesung had rehearsed this speech 1,000 times. He knew every word, every pause, every gesture. He began to speak. Honored members of the Council, I am Taesung, speaking for the people of Earth. My world is young compared to yours. We have only just learned to travel between stars. We have only recently discovered we are not alone in the universe. We come before you seeking friendship, seeking knowledge, and seeking a place among the civilized worlds. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some aliens nodded their various heads. Others remained still as statues. Taesung could not read the expressions on most of their faces. Their features were too different from human ones. We know we have much to learn, Taesung continued, but we also believe we have much to offer. Humans are resourceful. We are creative. We are determined. We wish to share our strengths with the Council and learn from yours. The voice spoke again. Your words are noted, Ambassador. We will now begin the traditional questions. These questions are asked of all species seeking membership. You must answer truthfully. I understand, Taesung said. I will answer any question with complete honesty. A delegate rose from one of the lower seats. This one had scales the color of dried blood and eyes like golden coins. Its body was long and powerful, built like the great reptiles that had once ruled Earth millions of years ago. When it spoke, its voice hissed like steam escaping from a valve. I am Vesh, representative of the Saurian Collective. I will ask the first question. The creature's golden eyes fixed on Taesung. This question is traditional. It is asked of all prey species when they first come before the Council. Taesung felt a small spark of anger at the word prey, but he kept his face neutral. He had expected this. The Council divided species into categories: hunters and prey, predators and victims. It was a simple way to understand the galaxy, even if it was not always accurate. Please ask your question, Taesung said calmly. Vesh's long tail swayed behind him. Every world has its dangers. Every species evolved alongside creatures that hunted them, that saw them as food. This shaped how they think, how they act, how they survive. So I ask you, human, what hunts your kind? What predators stalk humans on your world? The chamber grew quiet. This was indeed a traditional question. Taesung had studied the records. Every species answered differently. Some described massive beasts with claws like swords. Others spoke of poisonous insects or cunning pack hunters. A few unfortunate species still lived in fear of the creatures that hunted them. Taesung looked around the chamber. He saw curiosity in some faces. He saw superiority in others. They expected him to list the dangerous animals of Earth. They expected him to describe lions and tigers and bears and sharks. They expected him to paint humans as clever prey that had barely survived. He smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who knows a secret. A truth that will change everything. Nothing, he said simply. Silence fell like a stone into deep water. Vesh tilted his reptilian head. I do not understand. Please clarify your answer. Taesung's smile widened slightly. Nothing hunts humans. Not anymore. The murmurs began again, louder this time. Confusion rippled through the chamber like wind through grass. Delegates leaned toward each other, speaking in languages Taesung could not hear. Some laughed, thinking he joked. Others frowned, suspecting a trick. Vesh's golden eyes narrowed. That is impossible. All species have natural predators. Even the strongest, even the most advanced. All began as prey to something. Your world is young. Your species is weak by galactic standards. Surely something on your planet sees humans as food. Something did, Taesung said. His voice remained calm, but it carried clearly through the chamber. Many things did once upon a time. But they do not anymore. Explain, Vesh demanded. Taesung clasped his hands behind his back. He had their attention now. Every eye, every sensor, every consciousness in the chamber focused on him. I will explain, he said. But to truly understand, I must tell you a story. I must take you back to the beginning of humanity. I must show you what we were, what we faced, and what we became. Only then will you understand my answer. The voice from above spoke again. Does the council wish to hear this explanation? Delegates voted with lights that appeared above their seats. Green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstain. Taesung watched the lights appear like stars being born. Green dominated the chamber. Curiosity had won. The council grants permission, the voice announced. You may proceed, Ambassador. Taesung nodded slowly. He gathered his thoughts, reaching back through millions of years of history. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of ages. To understand why nothing hunts humans anymore, you must understand what humans do to things that hunt us. And to understand that, I must take you back to a time when my ancestors were not the masters of Earth. I must take you back to when we were prey. He paused, letting the words settle. And I must show you what we did about it. Taesung activated a small device on his wrist. Holographic images materialized in the air above him, floating like ghosts made of light. The images showed Earth as it existed millions of years ago. A wild planet covered in forests and grasslands, rivers and mountains. This is my world 3 million years in the past, Taesung said. Look closely at it. See how beautiful it is. See how deadly. The hologram zoomed in, showing creatures that moved through ancient forests. Some walked on 4 legs. Some flew through the air. All of them looked dangerous in different ways. These are the predators that hunted my ancestors, Taesung explained. Let me introduce you to them. The first image showed a massive cat with teeth like curved daggers. Its body was powerful, built for killing. The teeth extended past its lower jaw, longer than human fingers. This is Smilodon. Humans called it the saber-toothed cat. It weighed more than 3 adult humans. Its teeth could pierce through the thickest hide. It hunted in the darkness, silent as shadow. When it attacked, death came quickly. Vesh leaned forward in his seat. A noble predator. Your ancestors must have feared it greatly. They did, Taesung agreed. But fear was not all they felt. Watch. The hologram changed. It showed early humans, shorter than modern ones, with heavier bones and smaller skulls. They huddled in a cave while outside in the darkness, eyes reflected firelight. The saber-toothed cat waited with the patience of a creature that knew it would eat eventually. My ancestors were weak, Taesung said. They had no claws. Their teeth were small and flat. They could not run as fast as the prey animals. They could not fight as well as the predators. By all logic, they should have died out. They should have become extinct. But they did not, a voice called from the upper seats. Taesung looked up and saw a delegate covered in silver feathers. They survived how? They survived because they refused to accept their place in the natural order, Taesung said quietly. They looked at the saber-toothed cat and they did not see a superior predator. They saw an enemy, and humans do not tolerate enemies. The hologram shifted again. It showed humans working together, making tools from stone and wood. They sharpened rocks into points. They attached those points to long sticks. They created weapons that extended their reach, that multiplied their strength. They studied the saber-toothed cat. Taesung continued. They learned its habits. They discovered where it slept during the day. They tracked its hunting patterns. They noted its weaknesses. And then when they had learned enough, they went to war. The hologram showed a group of early humans surrounding a cave. Inside that cave, a saber-toothed cat slept, unaware of the danger. The humans carried their primitive spears and torches. They did not wait for the cat to hunt them. They hunted it instead. They drove it from its den with fire, Taesung narrated. When it emerged, confused and angry, they attacked from all sides. Spears pierced its body. Stones crushed its skull. It killed 2 of them before it died, but die it did. The chamber remained silent. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. That was not enough for humans, Taesung said. Killing 1 cat did not satisfy them. They hunted every saber-toothed cat they could find. They destroyed their dens. They killed their young. They drove them away from good hunting grounds. Generation after generation, humans waged war against the cats that had once hunted them. The hologram showed more images. Bodies of dead cats piled high. Human tribes celebrating victories. Children learning to make weapons specifically designed to kill saber-toothed predators. It took thousands of years, Taesung said. But eventually the saber-toothed cat went extinct. It exists now only in our museums and our memories. Perhaps it went extinct naturally, suggested a delegate from the mid-level seats. This one resembled a large insect, with compound eyes that glittered in the chamber's light. Climate change, lack of food, disease, these things cause extinction. Taesung shook his head. Those things contributed. But humans accelerated the process. We made sure they could not recover. We made sure they could not adapt. We wanted them gone, and we did not stop until they were. He changed the hologram again. A new predator appeared. A massive bear that stood twice as tall as a human when it rose on its hind legs. Its claws were longer than knives. Its jaw could crush bone like humans crush dried leaves. This is Arctodus, the giant short-faced bear. It was the largest predator on my continent. Nothing could stand against it. Nothing except humans, the pattern repeated. Humans studied the bear. They learned its weaknesses. They developed tactics. They hunted it systematically, relentlessly, without mercy or pause. The same story played out with every predator that threatened us, Taesung said. Cave lions, direwolves, giant crocodiles that lurked in rivers, birds of prey large enough to carry away children. One by one, we eliminated them. More holograms appeared, showing extinct creatures. Each one had been a terror in its time. Each one had hunted humans. Each one was gone. We did not stop with the predators that actively hunted us, Taesung continued, his voice growing harder. We also eliminated predators that competed with us for food. We killed predators that scared our livestock. We killed predators that simply existed in places we wanted to live. A delegate stood abruptly. She resembled a seal, sleek and covered in smooth gray skin. Her voice trembled with emotion. This is genocide. You are describing the systematic destruction of entire species. Yes, Taesung said simply. That is exactly what I'm describing. And you feel no shame? The seal-like delegate demanded. No remorse for these extinctions? Taesung was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. We feel shame now. We feel great remorse. But that came later, much later. First came survival. First came victory. Shame came only after we no longer had anything to fear. He gestured, and the hologram showed modern Earth. Cities of glass and steel reached toward the sky. Lights glittered across continents. But in the corners of the image, small pockets of wilderness remained. In those pockets lived the last predators. These are what remain, Taesung said. A few thousand tigers hiding in protected reserves. Wolves living in remote mountains where humans allow them to exist. Sharks in the oceans declining every year despite our efforts to save them. Bears that avoid human settlements. Lions confined to national parks. The images showed these creatures. They looked diminished somehow, like echoes of what they once were. We keep them alive now, Taesung explained. We spend enormous resources protecting them. We create laws against hunting them. We build sanctuaries where they can live without human interference. We do this because we finally realized what we had done. We looked around and saw that we had won so completely that nothing remained to challenge us. And this frightened you? Asked another delegate, this one covered in blue scales. It should have, Taesung replied. A world without predators is a world out of balance. We learned this too late for many species. But we learned it eventually. Vesh stood again, his golden eyes fixed on Taesung. So you admit that humans are destroyers. You admit that your kind cannot coexist with predators. You eliminate anything that threatens you. Taesung met his gaze steadily. I admit that humans remember. We remember when we were prey. We remember the fear of sleeping in darkness, listening for footsteps outside our caves. We remember children taken in the night. We remember elders too slow to escape, and when we remember these things, we ensure they never happen again. By committing extinction, Vesh hissed. By refusing to remain prey, Taesung corrected. There is a difference between predator and prey in nature. Predators hunt. Prey run and hide, but humans rejected that dichotomy. We refused to be prey, and we did whatever was necessary to change our position in the natural order. He paused, looking around the chamber. I tell you this not to boast, he said quietly. I tell you this so you understand what humans are. We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. We are not the most naturally dangerous, but we are the most relentless. We do not forget threats. We do not forgive enemies, and we do not stop until we have won completely. The chamber fell silent again. This silence felt different from before. It felt heavier, weighted with understanding and something that might have been fear. Taesung deactivated the hologram. The images of extinct predators faded like morning mist. You asked what hunts humans, he said. Now you know the answer. Nothing hunts us anymore because we waged war on everything that ever did, and we won. Taesung activated his device again. New images appeared in the air, but these were different from the ancient predators. These images showed creatures that lived in more recent times, creatures that had walked the earth when humans already had cities and agriculture and written language. The story does not end with the extinction of our ancient predators, Taesung said. If anything, it became worse as we grew more powerful. Let me show you the true scope of what humans do to things that hunt us. The first image showed a massive wolf, larger than any modern wolf. Its fur was thick and dark, its eyes intelligent and cruel. The hologram showed it hunting through snowy forests, powerful and graceful. This is the dire wolf, Taesung explained. It survived long after the saber-toothed cats vanished. It lived alongside humans for thousands of years. It was smart enough to avoid us, fast enough to escape us, adaptable enough to find new territories when we expanded. He paused. It went extinct 11,000 years ago. Humans hunted it until none remained. The image changed to show enormous birds with wingspans wider than a human is tall. They soared over grasslands, their shadows terrifying to anything below. Terror birds. They stood taller than humans and could run faster than horses. Their beaks could crack skulls with a single strike. They were apex predators for millions of years. Another pause. Extinct. Gone when humans arrived in their territory. More images appeared in rapid succession. Each showed a magnificent predator. Each caption noted the same fate. Extinct. Cave lions. Larger than modern lions. Extinct. Giant hyenas with bone-crushing jaws. Extinct. Massive crocodiles that could swallow a human whole. Extinct. American cheetahs. Faster than anything alive. Extinct. The images kept coming, a parade of ghosts. The delegates watched in growing horror as species after species appeared and vanished, each one erased from existence. Some of these went extinct partly due to climate change, Taesung admitted. Ice ages came and went. Continents shifted. Temperatures rose and fell. But humans accelerated every extinction. We hunted them when they were weak. We took their territories when they needed them most. We gave them no chance to adapt or recover. A delegate in the upper seat stood. He resembled a tree, his body composed of something like living wood, his voice like wind through leaves. But surely this was ancient history. Surely modern humans, civilized humans, no longer engage in such destruction. Taesung's expression grew grim. That is what one would hope. But the truth is more complicated. The hologram shifted to show a tiger, orange and black, beautiful and deadly. But this tiger looked thin, almost starved. It crept through a forest that seemed too small, too fragmented. This is a Bengal tiger, one of the few tiger subspecies still alive. 200 years ago, hundreds of thousands of these tigers roamed across multiple continents. Do you know how many exist now? He did not wait for an answer. Approximately 3,000. In the entire world. 3,000 individuals, scattered across small reserves. Their population so isolated they risk genetic collapse. The image changed to show other modern predators. Wolves hiding in remote mountains, lions confined to African parks, bears avoiding human settlements like plague zones. These creatures learned to fear humans, Taesung said. They learned to hide, to avoid, to take only what we allow them to take. They learned that confronting humans means death, not just for themselves but for their entire packs, their entire prides, their entire species. A murmur of discomfort rippled through the chamber. Many delegates shifted in their seats. The insectoid delegate from earlier spoke up, her voice sharp with accusation. "You are describing a species that cannot control itself, a species that destroys without thought, without reason. How can such a species be trusted in the galactic community?" Taesung nodded slowly. "That is a fair question, and the answer is both simple and complex. Yes, humans have destroyed much, but we also learned to stop. Eventually, he changed the hologram again. This time it showed humans working to protect animals. Scientists tracking endangered species, rangers protecting reserves from poachers, veterinarians healing injured predators, enormous sums of money spent on conservation. We finally understood what we had done," Taesung said. "We looked at our world and saw emptiness where once there had been abundance. We saw cages where once there had been wilderness. We saw extinction where once there had been life. And we felt shame. The images showed humans crying over dead elephants killed by poachers, humans celebrating when a nearly extinct bird successfully bred in captivity, humans passing laws to protect predators, even predators that sometimes killed humans. We created the concept of endangered species," Taesung explained. "We invented conservation biology. We built nature reserves larger than some countries. We spent billions of our currency trying to undo the damage we had caused. But the damage was already done," Vesh said, his voice cold. "The extinctions cannot be undone. The dead cannot be brought back." "No, they cannot," Taesung agreed quietly. "And that is something humans must live with. Every child on Earth learns about the animals we destroyed. We teach our young about the passenger pigeons that once darkened the skies in flocks of millions, all killed for sport and food until none remained. We teach them about the Tasmanian tigers we hunted to extinction just over a century ago. We force ourselves to remember our crimes." "Why?" asked the feathered delegate. "Why torture yourselves with memories of past mistakes?" Taesung's voice became hard as steel. "Because humans must never forget what we are capable of. We must never forget that our instinct, when threatened, is total elimination of the threat. We must never forget that we can go too far, that we can win so completely that we destroy what should have been preserved." He gestured at the hologram, which now showed both extinct and endangered species side by side. "We remember the extinction, so we fight to prevent new ones. We remember the dire wolves, so we protect the few gray wolves that remain. We remember the saber-toothed cat, so we guard the tigers and lions still alive. Our shame drives our conservation efforts." The seal-like delegate spoke again, her voice less angry now, more thoughtful. "So humans learned from their mistakes. This is commendable, but it does not erase the fact that your first instinct is destruction." "No," Taesung said, "it does not erase that fact. I do not stand before you claiming humans are perfect. I do not claim we are peaceful by nature. I do not claim we never make mistakes." He paused, making sure every delegate could hear his next words clearly. "But I do claim that humans learn. We adapt, we change. We are capable of great destruction, yes, but we are also capable of great remorse and great effort to make amends." The hologram changed one final time. It showed a nature reserve on Earth, vast and beautiful. In that reserve, wolves hunted deer. Bears caught fish in rivers. Birds of prey soared overhead. All of them lived free, protected by human laws, funded by human resources, guarded by human rangers who would die to protect them. These predators exist because humans decided they should exist, Taesung said. Not because they are stronger than us, not because they can defend themselves from us, but because we chose to protect them. We looked at our history of destruction and said no more. Not unless we have no choice. And if you have no choice? Vesh asked. If something threatens humanity again? What then? Taesung's expression became cold, distant. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper, yet it carried clearly through the silent chamber. Then we remember our history. Then we remember what humans do to things that hunt us. Then we remember that we have never lost a war against predators. Not in 3 million years of evolution. He looked directly at Vesh, then slowly scanned the entire chamber, meeting as many eyes as he could. We remember, he repeated, and we make sure that whatever threatened us joins the long list of extinct species that learned too late what it means to hunt humanity. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. The delegates sat frozen, processing what they had heard. Some looked thoughtful, some looked disturbed. Many looked frightened. Taesung deactivated the hologram. The images of predators, extinct, endangered, and protected, faded away. He stood alone on the raised platform, a single human surrounded by hundreds of alien species, and somehow he seemed more dangerous than all of them combined. "You asked what hunts humans," he said quietly. "Now you understand. Nothing hunts us because we do not allow anything to hunt us. And anything that tries learns the same lesson our ancient predators learned. Humans may be weak individually, but collectively, generationally, we are the most dangerous species our planet ever produced." He paused, "And now we are among the stars." Vesh rose from his seat slowly. His golden eyes glittered with something that might have been anger or might have been fear. His long tail lashed behind him like a whip cutting through air. "Ambassador Taesung," he began, his voice controlled but tense. "Your history lesson has been educational. We understand that humans once destroyed their natural predators. We understand that your species has a regrettable tendency toward extinction-level violence." He paused, letting his words echo through the chamber. "But surely this is ancient history. Surely these are the actions of primitive humans, not the civilized species that seeks membership in our council. You speak of animals, of beasts that acted on instinct. You cannot compare these simple creatures to the intelligent species gathered here today." Murmurs of agreement rippled through some sections of the chamber. Many delegates nodded. The violence Taesung described seemed distant to them, irrelevant to modern times. Taesung remained still on his platform. His face showed no emotion. He simply watched Vesh and waited. "Humans have evolved," Vesh continued, his voice growing stronger. "You have technology now. You have philosophy, art, culture. You have moved beyond your savage past. Is this not true? Have humans not learned to coexist peacefully with other intelligent species? Have we?" Taesung asked quietly. The question hung in the air like smoke. Vesh's tail stopped moving. "I do not understand." "Explain yourself." Taesung took a breath. When he spoke again, his voice remained calm, but something cold entered his tone. "You ask if humans have evolved beyond our violent tendencies. You ask if we can coexist with other intelligent species. Let me answer with a question of my own. Do any of you know why Earth is seeking membership in the Galactic Council now, at this particular moment in our history?" Several delegates exchanged glances. A few checked their data tablets. Most simply looked confused. "We assumed you had finally developed the technology to detect our communications," said a delegate from the mid-level seats. This one resembled a floating jellyfish, translucent and pulsing with soft light. "Many species join once they discover they are not alone in the universe." "That is part of it," Taesung agreed. "But not the full story. We discovered we were not alone 53 years ago. We detected signals from the Galactic Council 49 years ago. We decoded those signals and learned we could travel between stars 45 years ago." He paused. "So why did we wait so long to apply for membership?" No one answered. "Because we were busy," Taesung said simply. He activated his device again. A new hologram appeared. This one did not show Earth. It showed a different planet, one with purple skies and green oceans. Cities covered its surface, elegant and complex. Ships moved through its atmosphere. It looked prosperous, advanced, peaceful. This was the Krell homeworld, Taesung said. 50 years ago, the delegates grew very quiet. Many of them knew what was coming. The Krell Empire was old, Taesung continued. They had traveled the stars for 6,000 years. They controlled 47 worlds. They had mastered technologies that humans still do not fully understand. They were powerful, advanced, and absolutely convinced of their superiority over younger species. The hologram zoomed in on one of the Krell cities. The architecture was beautiful, all flowing curves and crystalline towers that caught the sunlight in spectacular ways. 50 years ago, the Krell detected a human colony ship, Taesung said. This ship carried 3,000 humans, families, children, scientists, engineers, artists. They traveled to a world we had found, a world we were going to make into a new home. His voice remained steady, but something hard entered it. The Krell decided that world belonged to them. They claimed it as part of their territory despite the fact that no Krell had ever lived there. They sent ships to intercept our colony vessel. They demanded we turn back. We tried to negotiate. We offered to share the world. We offered to find a different planet. We offered everything we could think of to avoid conflict. The hologram changed. It showed a massive explosion in space, bright and terrible. Where a ship had been, only debris remained. The Krell did not want negotiation, Taesung said quietly. They wanted dominance. They destroyed our colony ship. All 3,000 humans aboard died. Among them was my sister Da-Yoon. She was a teacher. She loved children. She wanted to help build schools on the new world. The chamber remained absolutely silent. Da-Eun died along with 2,999 other humans. Taesung continued. The Krell recorded the destruction and broadcast it throughout their empire. They meant it as a warning to other young species. They meant it to show what happens to those who defy Krell authority. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was like ice. They forgot to ask themselves an important question. They forgot to ask what hunts humans. Vesh spoke, his voice barely audible. What did humans do? Taesung's smile was terrible to see. We answered that question for them. The hologram changed. It showed Earth's moon, the surface covered in construction. Massive shipyards stretched across the gray landscape. Thousands of vessels took shape in those yards, built with desperate speed and singular purpose. We built a fleet, Taesung said, the largest fleet humanity had ever constructed. We pulled resources from every nation on Earth. We drafted soldiers. We trained pilots. We designed weapons specifically to counter Krell technology. We studied everything we knew about them. We learned their weaknesses. We planned our attack. The hologram showed the fleet launching, hundreds of ships leaving Earth's orbit, heading into deep space. It took us 3 years to prepare, Taesung explained. 3 years of building, training, planning. The Krell knew we were coming. They had time to prepare. They reinforced their defenses. They called in allies. They assembled an armada that outnumbered our fleet 5-1. He paused. They thought this would be enough. The hologram showed a battle in space. Explosions bloomed like flowers. Ships died by the dozens. The fighting was brutal and chaotic. The first engagement was a disaster for humanity, Taesung admitted. We lost half our fleet. The Krell celebrated. They thought they had won. They thought we would retreat, regroup, maybe attack again in a few decades. His voice grew colder. They did not understand humans, the hologram continued. It showed human ships regrouping, adapting, learning. It showed new attacks, different tactics. It showed the battle spreading across multiple star systems. We did not retreat, Taesung said. We studied what went wrong. We adapted our tactics. We built new ships to replace the ones we lost. We attacked again, and again, and again. We did not stop. We did not slow down. We did not negotiate. The delegates watched in growing horror as the hologram showed year after year of warfare. The Krell defenses slowly crumbled. Their fleets diminished. Their allies abandoned them. Human forces pressed closer to the Krell homeworld. The war lasted 15 years, Taesung said. 15 years of constant fighting. The Krell kept expecting us to stop, to grow tired, to seek peace. But we remembered Da-Eun. We remembered the 3,000 humans who died. We remembered that the Krell had broadcast their deaths as entertainment and warning. He gestured at the hologram, and we remembered what humans do to things that hunt us. The image showed the final battle. Human ships surrounded the Krell homeworld. The planet's once beautiful cities burned, the purple skies filled with smoke. We did not destroy the Krell completely, Taesung said. We are not genocidal. But we broke them. We destroyed their empire. We scattered their population. We reduced them from a power that ruled 47 worlds to refugees begging for sanctuary on planets controlled by others. The hologram showed Krell survivors. They looked diminished, defeated, broken. Where once they had been proud and powerful, now they were merely another minor species struggling to survive in an uncaring galaxy. The Krell still exist, Taesung said. Maybe 50 million of them scattered across the galaxy. They live in small communities on worlds that tolerate their presence. They no longer have an empire. They no longer have power. They no longer have the ability to threaten anyone. He deactivated the hologram. The images of war and destruction faded. You asked if humans have evolved beyond our violent tendencies, Taesung said, looking directly at Vesh. You asked if we can coexist with other intelligent species. Here is my answer. We can. We desperately want to. We came to this council seeking friendship and peace. He paused, and his voice became hard as diamond. But if you hunt us, if you kill us, if you threaten our survival or the survival of those we love, then you will learn the same lesson the saber-toothed cats learned. The same lesson the dire wolves learned, the same lesson the Krell learned. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate he could. You will learn that humans remember. We remember for generations. We remember for centuries if necessary, and we do not stop until those who hunted us can never hunt again. The silence in the chamber was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of Taesung's words pressed down on everyone present. So I ask you, Taesung said quietly, what hunts humans? What predators stalk us in the darkness? What enemies dare to threaten us? He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Nothing. Not anymore. Because we make sure of it. The chamber remained frozen in silence for several long moments after Taesung finished speaking. He stood on his platform alone, surrounded by hundreds of alien species who now looked at him with new eyes. Eyes filled with understanding. Eyes filled with calculation. Eyes filled with fear. Finally, the voice from above spoke, breaking the spell. The Council must now deliberate on Earth's application for membership. Ambassador Taesung, please wait in the antechamber while we discuss. Taesung bowed slightly and descended from the platform. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber as he walked toward the exit. The doors opened before him and closed behind him with a soft hiss. He was gone. The moment the doors sealed, the chamber exploded into noise. Delegates shouted over each other. Some stood and gestured wildly. Others huddled in small groups, speaking in urgent whispers. The centuries-old dignity of the Galactic Council shattered like glass under the weight of what they had just learned. Vesh remained standing, his tail lashing violently. This is unacceptable, he roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. Humans are too dangerous. They have proven themselves incapable of coexistence. They admit to destroying species after species. They wage wars of extermination. They cannot be trusted. They cannot be ignored either, countered a delegate from the upper seats. This one resembled a crystalline structure, her voice like chimes ringing. Humans are already among the stars. They have faster-than-light travel. They have weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. Rejecting them does not make them go away. It only makes them our enemies instead of our allies. Better an enemy we know about than a member we cannot control, Vesh hissed. Can we control them even as enemies? Another delegate asked. This one was the feathered being who had spoken earlier. Did the Krell control them? The Krell had superior technology, greater numbers, established defenses, and humans destroyed them anyway. The insectoid delegate spoke up, her voice sharp with anxiety. That is precisely why we should reject them. They are predators. They are destroyers. Everything they have told us confirms this. How can we allow such a species into the Council? They also save species, said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was a moth-like creature named Thriss, representative of a peaceful species that rarely spoke in Council debates. Her wings were delicate, almost translucent, colored in soft grays and whites. She looked fragile, like she might blow away in a strong wind. Explain, commanded Vesh. Thriss's voice remained soft, but it carried clearly. My world. 15 years ago, pirates attacked us. We have no military. We have no weapons. We are a peaceful people who trade in art and philosophy. The pirates slaughtered thousands. They took what they wanted. They laughed at our pleas for mercy. She paused, her wings trembling slightly. We sent distress calls into space hoping someone would hear. The Council ships were weeks away. By the time they could arrive, my people would be dead or enslaved. We prepared to die. What happened? Asked the crystalline delegate. Human ships arrived, Thriss said simply. 3 vessels. They had been exploring a nearby system. They intercepted our distress call. They came even though we were strangers to them. Even though they owed us nothing. Her wings spread wider. The human commander contacted the pirates. She told them to leave or die. The pirates laughed. They outnumbered the human ships. They had superior firepower. They told the humans to flee or be destroyed. Thriss's voice grew stronger. The humans did not flee. They fought. One of their ships was destroyed, but they did not retreat. They defended my world with a ferocity I had never witnessed. They hunted the pirate vessels through our system like... She paused, searching for words. Like predators hunting prey. The chamber listened intently now. When the battle ended, not a single pirate ship escaped, Thriss continued. The humans spent the next 3 months hunting down every pirate base they could find. They did not stop until they were certain those pirates could never threaten anyone again. Hundreds of pirates died. The human commander told me they did it so my people could sleep safely. She looked around the chamber. Humans defended what they loved as fiercely as they avenged what they had lost. They protected strangers with the same determination they showed when attacking enemies. This is also what humans are. Vesh's tail slowed its lashing, but his voice remained hard. One act of kindness does not erase a history of extermination. No, agreed Thriss. But one act of extermination does not erase a capacity for protection either. Humans are both. They are predators and protectors. They are destroyers and defenders. They contain multitudes. The seal-like delegate spoke up. This makes them unpredictable, dangerous. How do we know which face they will show us? We ask them, said the jellyfish-like delegate. We set terms for their membership. We establish rules. We make clear what behavior is acceptable and what is not. And if they break those rules, Vesh demanded. Silence fell again. Everyone knew the answer. If humans broke the rules, if they decided to become enemies instead of allies, then the galaxy would face a species that had spent 3 million years learning how to eliminate threats. The crystalline delegate's voice rang out. We face a choice. We can accept humans as members, with all the risks and benefits that entails, or we can reject them and turn a potential ally into a certain enemy. These are our only options. There must be another way, someone protested. There is not, the crystalline delegate replied firmly. Humans exist. They have faster-than-light travel. They have powerful weapons. They have shown themselves capable of sustained warfare against superior opponents. We cannot unmake them. We cannot ignore them. We can only choose how to engage with them. Vesh stood silent for a long moment, his reptilian face unreadable. Finally he spoke. If we accept them, we must do so with full knowledge of what they are. We cannot pretend they are peaceful. We cannot pretend they are harmless. We must acknowledge that we are accepting a species that has destroyed everything that ever threatened them, but also a species that protects what they value. Thriss added softly. A species capable of learning from mistakes. A species that can feel remorse and act on it. Another delegate stood. I propose we vote. The question is clear. Does Earth receive membership in the Galactic Council? I second this motion, said another voice. The central voice spoke. The motion is accepted. All delegates prepare to vote. Green for acceptance, red for rejection, yellow for abstention. The chamber fell silent as delegates made their choices. This was perhaps the most important vote in the Council's history. They were not just accepting a new member. They were deciding whether to embrace or reject a species that might reshape the entire galaxy. Lights began to appear above each seat. Green, red, yellow. They bloomed like stars being born, each one representing a delegate's decision. Tae-sung waited in the antechamber. It was a small room, comfortable but austere. He sat in a chair designed for human proportions and stared at the wall. His face remained calm, but his hands gripped the armrest tightly. He thought about Da-un. His sister had been so excited about the colony ship. She had talked about the new world for months before departure. She had shown him pictures of the landscape, the oceans, the potential for new cities and schools. Her eyes had shone with hope. Then the Krell had taken that hope and turned it into fire and debris. Tae-sung had watched the destruction from Earth. He had seen the explosion that killed his sister. He had seen 3,000 lives erased in an instant, and he had felt something cold and hard crystallize in his chest. The Krell had learned what humans do to things that hunt them. They had learned the hard way at the cost of their empire. Tae-sung felt no remorse for their destruction. Tae-yun deserved better than to die for nothing. The door to the antechamber opened. A small robot entered, its voice mechanical but somehow gentle. Ambassador Tae-sung, the council has reached a decision. Please return to the chamber. Tae-sung stood and straightened his uniform. He walked back through the doors and took his place on the platform. The delegates watched him with expressions he could not fully read. The central voice spoke. The vote has been counted. The results are as follows. 347 delegates voted in favor of Earth's membership. 292 delegates voted against. 71 delegates abstained. A pause. Earth's application for membership in the Galactic Council is accepted. Relief flooded through Tae-sung, though he did not let it show on his face. He bowed deeply. The people of Earth thank the Council for this honor. We will strive to be worthy members of this great assembly. You will be monitored closely, Vesh said, his voice cold. Any aggression, any violation of Council law will result in immediate expulsion and possible sanctions. We understand, Taesung replied. Humans seek only peace and cooperation, but we also seek respect. We hope the Council will remember what we are capable of, not as a threat but as a promise. We will defend ourselves and our allies with every resource we possess. That is what concerns us, muttered a delegate. The crystalline delegate stood. Ambassador Taesung, I have a question. An unofficial question, if you will. I will answer if I can, Taesung said. You told us about your history. You explained what humans do to threats, but I wonder what do humans do to friends?